I am Heather Wilson, 28, a financial analyst who always believed family comes first. Despite our dysfunctional moments, our annual vacations were sacred tradition. So when my parents announced, "We are skipping vacation this year. Money is tight," I felt disappointed but understood. I even offered financial help, but they insisted it was still too expensive. Something felt off about their quick dismissal, but I trusted them. I had no idea their betrayal would teach me the hardest lesson of my life. Where are you watching from today? Hit like and subscribe to join me on this journey of family deception that changed everything. The Wilson family has always been complicated but close. My parents, Amanda and Brian Wilson, raised 4 of us in a middle-class neighborhood in Michigan. I am the second oldest, with my sister Lauren, 32, above me, and my younger siblings Ashley, 25, and Jason, 23, below. As we grew up, our family expanded to include Lauren's husband Derek, Ashley's husband Tom, and Jason's girlfriend Megan. Despite being a family of 8 adults now, we maintained our tradition of vacationing together every summer. Growing up, money was often tight in our household. My father worked as a high school teacher while my mother managed a small clothing boutique. They stretched every dollar, but they always made our annual vacation a priority. When we were younger, these trips were modest affairs, camping at state parks, road trips to visit relatives, or weekend stays at budget motels near Lake Michigan. My fondest childhood memories revolve around these simple getaways, where we would roast marshmallows, swim until sunset, and play board games when it rained. A vacation is not a luxury. It is a necessity for a functioning family, my mother would always say. And she was right. Those trips provided us with uninterrupted time together, away from the distractions of everyday life. Even during the recession when I was 13, when both my parents took second jobs, they somehow scraped together enough for 3 days at a cabin in the woods. I remember my father saying, "We might be broke, but we are not broken." As we siblings grew older and started working, our vacations gradually became more elaborate. Lauren suggested we all contribute to a family vacation fund, and by the time I finished college, we were staying at proper resorts rather than motels. Last year, we rented a beachfront house in the Outer Banks for a week. We splurged on jet ski rentals, hired a chef for one special dinner, and even took a sunset cruise. It was the most expensive vacation we had ever taken. But seeing my parents finally enjoying luxury after years of sacrifice made every penny worth it. Unlike my siblings, I chose a career in finance and moved to Chicago. Working 60-hour weeks at an investment firm paid off, and by 28, I was earning more than my parents combined. This financial disparity created subtle tension within the family. I never flaunted my success, but I also never hesitated to pick up the check at dinner or upgrade our accommodations when planning trips. 2 years ago, I suggested we create a shared family expenses system. We set up a digital wallet app where we could all contribute to joint purchases, with the app tracking who paid what. The travel wallet became the central fund for our vacations, with each adult contributing based on their income. Being the highest earner, I typically covered about 40% of the total expenses. My credit card was linked to the wallet as the primary payment method, though everyone had their own cards attached as well. For this year's vacation, we had been casually discussing possibilities since January. My father had mentioned wanting to try something on the water, and we were exploring options along the Gulf Coast or possibly the Caribbean. Lauren had been researching rental properties, and Ashley was collecting restaurant recommendations. Everything seemed normal in our planning process until that unexpected group message in March. "Family, we need to talk about vacation," my father wrote one Tuesday evening. "Your mother and I have been looking at our finances, and things are tighter than we thought this year. We think it might be best to skip the annual trip and focus on getting our finances in order." I immediately called him. "Dad, if money is the issue, I can cover more than my usual share. You know that is not a problem." "No, honey," he insisted. "It is not just about the money. Your mother and I need to be more responsible. We are not getting any younger, and retirement is looming. Maybe next year." What struck me as odd was how quickly everyone else agreed. Usually, Any change to our vacation plans triggered days of debate, alternative suggestions, and negotiation. But within an hour, all my siblings had chimed in with variations of "that makes sense" and "we understand." Nobody fought for our sacred tradition, which had survived far worse financial times. I tried once more in the group chat. What if we do something simple this year? Like when we were kids. Camping or a lake cabin? My mother responded swiftly, "That is sweet, Heather. But we have made our decision. Let us be responsible adults this year." And, just like that, our vacation was canceled. I felt disappointed but respected what I thought was my parents' financial prudence. Little did I know that this was just the beginning of a betrayal that would shake the foundation of our family. 2 months passed after the vacation cancellation announcement. April turned to May, and spring was in full bloom in Chicago. I had thrown myself into work, taking on additional projects to fill the 2 weeks I had already requested off for our now canceled family vacation. While scrolling through Instagram one evening, I noticed something peculiar. My sister Lauren had posted a story showing new luggage tags, quickly followed by another post about summer essentials featuring expensive sunscreen and a designer beach hat. When I texted her about it, she claimed they were for a weekend trip to visit Derek's parents in Cleveland. Nothing special. Just trying to use some of the money we saved from not doing the big family trip, she wrote. It seemed reasonable enough, but something about her explanation felt rehearsed. A week later, I scheduled our usual Sunday video call with my parents. My mother answered alone, claiming my father was at a neighbor's house watching a game. During our conversation, I noticed a shopping bag in the background from a store that specialized in resort wear. When I asked about it, she quickly adjusted the camera angle and changed the subject to my work. "How is that big project going?" "The one with the international client," she asked, despite me never mentioning any international client to her. These strange behaviors continued to accumulate. My brother Jason, who usually shared every detail of his life on social media, had been unusually quiet online. When he did post, it was vague updates without location tags. During our monthly sibling call, he mentioned buying new swimming trunks and rash guards for the community pool, despite having never shown interest in swimming before. "Since when do you swim laps, Jason?" I asked. "Just trying to stay in shape," he responded, his voice pitched slightly higher than normal. "Megan thinks I need more cardio." When I spoke with Ashley about planning a sister's weekend since our family vacation was canceled, she was evasive about her availability in July. "I am just so swamped with work right now. I cannot commit to anything," she said, though she had previously mentioned her company's summer slowdown during that exact period. The most telling slip-up came from Ashley's husband Tom. He accidentally posted a shopping list to their shared digital notebook that I still had access to from when I helped them move. The list included items like waterproof phone case, strong sunblock, the good kind, seasickness pills, and formal outfit for captain's dinner. He deleted it within minutes, but not before I had seen it. My suspicions grew stronger when my coworker Caroline mentioned seeing my brother at a high-end luggage store. "I thought Jason was shopping for you when I saw him looking at that expensive waterproof duffel," she said casually over lunch. He said something about a surprise when I asked, so I did not want to ruin anything by mentioning it. I sat with this information for days, turning it over in my mind. The pieces were starting to form a picture I did not want to see. Still, I gave my family the benefit of the doubt. Perhaps they were planning a surprise party for me? But my birthday was in November. Maybe they were going on separate, smaller trips instead of our big family vacation? But why the secrecy? I decided to reach out to each family member individually, asking casual questions about their summer plans. The inconsistencies in their stories became impossible to ignore. My father claimed he and my mother were focusing on home projects all summer. My mother mentioned they might visit Aunt Carol for a weekend in August. Lauren said they were staying local except for that Cleveland trip. Jason told me he was picking up extra shifts at work to save money. Ashley explained that she and Tom were too busy for any real travel this year. None of their stories aligned, and all of them seemed to get uncomfortable when I pressed for details. They would quickly change the subject or find reasons to end our conversations. The tension was palpable. even through phone calls and text messages. I considered confronting them directly with my suspicions, but decided against it. If they were indeed planning something behind my back, I wanted to understand the full extent of their deception before addressing it. So I watched and waited, keeping my eyes open for any additional clues while pretending to accept their explanations at face value. What I did not expect was for the truth to reveal itself through my own bank account, in a way that would leave no room for misinterpretation or denial. It was a Tuesday afternoon in late June when my phone began buzzing incessantly with transaction alerts. I was in the middle of a quarterly review meeting with my biggest client, so I silenced my phone and continued my presentation. When we finally broke for lunch 3 hours later, I found 17 notification emails from my credit card company. Sitting alone in my office with the door closed, I scrolled through the alerts with increasing disbelief. Your card has been charged $15,345 by Luxury Maritime Experiences. Your card has been charged $3,270 by Sunset Gourmet Catering. Your card has been charged $2,578.00 by Serenity Spa Services. Your card has been charged $6,842 by Coastal Airways. Your card has been charged $1,980 by Elite Island Excursions. The transactions continued. Smaller amounts for various beach boutiques, equipment rentals, and premium beverage packages. My hands trembled as I calculated the total, over $32,000 in charges, all processed within the past hour. My first thought was identity theft. Someone had clearly stolen my credit card information and was on a spending spree. I immediately called the credit card company, prepared to dispute the fraudulent charges. Ms. Wilson, these charges were authorized through your linked application, the family share wallet, the representative explained. The purchases were made using the saved card on file, but the authorization came through the app with your stored credentials. That stopped me cold. The family share wallet. Our shared travel expense app. Can you tell me who initiated these transactions? I asked, my voice surprisingly steady despite the storm brewing inside me. The primary user on the transaction log is listed as Brian Wilson, the representative replied. My father. I thanked the representative and ended the call, then immediately logged into the Family Share Wallet app. There they were, all the transactions, neatly categorized under Summer Vacation 2023. I clicked on the airline charges and found the detailed receipt, 12 round-trip tickets to Key West, Florida, departing this Friday, just 3 days away. 12 tickets. For my parents. My 3 siblings and their partners. But who were the other 4 people? I scrolled through the passenger list. My parents' best friends, the Johnsons, and my father's brother and his wife. A complete vacation party. Without me. The yacht charter details revealed a 7-day luxury sailing experience around the Florida Keys with a professional crew, including a private chef. The spa services were pre-booked for the women in the group, and the excursions included private fishing trips, snorkeling at exclusive locations, and sunset sailing with premium champagne service. They had planned an extravagant family vacation, more luxurious than any we had taken before, and deliberately excluded me while attempting to charge it all to my credit card. I sat back in my chair, trying to process the magnitude of their deception. Memories flashed through my mind. My mother claiming money was tight, my father talking about financial responsibility, my siblings' quick agreement to cancel the tradition we all supposedly cherished. I opened our family text thread and scrolled back months, reading with new understanding. There were coded messages I had missed. Lauren, is everyone on board with the new plan? Not a general question, but asking if everyone was literally on board with the yacht plan. My father. Everything's taken care of, just follow the itinerary when it arrives. The itinerary they never shared with me. Jason, can't wait for some quality family time. Family -1. Apparently. I searched my email and found nothing about the trip, confirming they had created a separate group for planning. My hand hovered over the keyboard, tempted to type out an explosive confrontation in the family chat. The hurt was so acute it felt physical, like a knife between my ribs. But something stopped me. They had tried to charge my card for over $32,000 without my knowledge or consent. This wasn't just a painful exclusion, it was financial theft. And that realization transformed my hurt into something colder and more calculated. I needed to understand why. Was I so terrible to vacation with? Had I done something to deserve being cut out like this? Or was I simply being used as an unwitting financial sponsor for their luxury getaway? As these questions swirled in my mind, another notification pinged on my phone. A shared calendar invitation had been accidentally sent to all contacts, including me. Wilson Family Yacht Vacation. Final preparation meeting scheduled for tomorrow evening at my parents' house. They were still moving forward, blissfully unaware that I knew everything. They had no idea that their perfect plan had just fallen apart, or that I was about to teach them all a lesson about consequences they would never forget. That evening, I sat alone in my apartment, a glass of whiskey untouched before me as I processed the day's revelations. The Chicago skyline twinkled through my window, but I barely noticed the view I usually cherished. All I could see were images of my family laughing on a yacht, toasting their successful deception, perhaps even making jokes at my expense. Poor workaholic Heather, too busy for fun. I could imagine them saying as they sipped champagne on the deck. The pain was evolving now, transforming from the initial shock and hurt into something more complex. I thought about all the times I had helped my family financially over the years. The down payment I had contributed to Lauren and Derek's house, calling it a wedding gift. The business loan for my mother's boutique expansion last year. The tuition assistance for Jason's final semester when his student loans fell through. I had never kept score. Never held these contributions over their heads. That is not what family does. Or at least, that is not what I thought family did. I picked up my laptop and began calculating exactly how much they had attempted to charge to my account. The grand total came to $32,764.89, an amount that would have been difficult, if not impossible, for them to cover themselves given their combined incomes. They had not just excluded me emotionally, they had tried to use me as their personal ATM. I called my credit card company back, this time speaking to a fraud specialist. I explained the situation in clinical detail, unauthorized charges made through a shared payment app. A clear case of family members abusing financial access. I want to dispute all of these charges, I said firmly. And I want to provide evidence that they were made without my knowledge or consent. The specialist walked me through the process, explaining what documentation I would need to submit. I forwarded emails, screenshots of text messages discussing the canceled vacation, and records from the shared wallet app showing who had initiated each transaction. Given the circumstances and the amount involved, we will immediately freeze these charges and begin an investigation, the specialist assured me. In the meantime, would you like us to issue a new card with a different number? Yes, I replied. And please remove my card as the primary payment method from the Family Share wallet application. After ending the call, I logged into the app itself and took more decisive action. As the account creator, I had administrative privileges the others did not. I permanently froze the shared travel wallet, changed the recovery email to my work address, and revoked access permissions for all other family members. For good measure, I checked our shared cloud storage, where we kept family documents and photos. As I suspected, I found a folder labeled Summer 2023 that I had never seen before. Inside was a detailed itinerary for the yacht vacation, including cabin assignments, meal preferences, and scheduled activities for each day. There was also a group photo from last year's vacation that had been edited to remove me, which they had apparently sent to the yacht charter company to prepare personalized welcome packages. I downloaded everything as evidence, then sat back and considered my next move. I could call them out immediately, unleash my fury in the family group chat, and watch them scramble with explanations and excuses. But that would give them time to regroup, to come up with alternative payment methods, to salvage their precious vacation. And something in me, a part hardened by their betrayal, did not want them to have that chance. No, I decided. I would not confront them. I would not give them the opportunity to manipulate me with tears and apologies. I would let them discover the consequences of their actions in real time. When they arrived at the marina with their sun hats and luxury luggage, ready for their dream vacation, I checked the itinerary again. They were scheduled to depart in 2 days. The yacht could not be boarded without final payment being processed. All the additional experiences, from the catering to the excursions, were similarly on hold pending payment confirmation. Part of me felt a twinge of guilt about the dramatic scene that would unfold at the marina. But then I remembered how meticulously they had planned this deception. How carefully they had excluded me while attempting to exploit my finances. The guilt evaporated, replaced by a cold determination. I closed my laptop and finally took a sip of my whiskey. For the first time since seeing those credit card notifications, I felt in control. Tomorrow, I would go to work as usual. I would focus on my clients, attend my meetings, and carry on as if nothing had changed. I would not give them any indication that I had discovered their scheme. And when the moment of truth arrived at the marina, I would be here in Chicago, carrying on with my life while they faced the consequences of their betrayal. Let them explain to each other why their luxury yacht vacation had suddenly capsized before it even left the port. As I prepared for bed that night, I found myself surprisingly calm. The decision had been made. The actions had been taken. Now all that remained was to wait for the inevitable storm, secure in the knowledge that I had protected myself from both financial and emotional exploitation. For the first time in my adult life, I had chosen myself over my family's expectations and demands. And despite the pain that had brought me to this point, that choice felt surprisingly like freedom. Friday morning arrived with a brilliant summer sunrise. I woke early, made my usual coffee, and prepared for work with methodical precision. According to the itinerary I had seen, my family would be heading to the airport around noon for their 2:30 p.m. flight to Key West. They would arrive by early evening, spend the night at a waterfront hotel, and board their chartered yacht the following morning. I had not heard anything from them since Tuesday, which was unusual, but consistent with their secret plans. Typically, our family group chat saw daily activity, even if it was just my mother sharing a recipe or Jason posting a meme. The silence confirmed they were operating on their separate communication channel, the one from which I had been deliberately excluded. At the office, I found myself checking social media more frequently than usual. Around 11 a.m., the posts began appearing. My sister Lauren shared a car selfie with her husband Derek, road trip time. So excited for a week of sun and relaxation. My brother Jason posted a picture of his packed car trunk with the caption, "Adventure awaits." Neither specified their destination. By 1 p.m., my mother had joined in with a photo at the airport, careful to not show any gate information or destination details in the background. "Summer getaway with my favorite people," read her caption. I noticed she had limited comments on the post, probably to prevent any well-meaning friends from asking questions that might expose their secret to me. I texted my father a casual message. "Hope you have a good weekend. I am thinking of painting my guest bedroom. Any color suggestions?" An innocent question that would not raise suspicions, but might elicit information about their whereabouts. He replied promptly, "Sorry, busy day with errands. Maybe a soft gray? Versatile with any decor." No mention of travel, no airport background noises in his voice message. The deception continued, smooth and practiced. I focused on my work throughout the afternoon, but by 5 p.m. I knew they would have landed in Key West. Sure enough, new social media posts appeared, though still carefully vague about the location. Beach photos that could have been anywhere in Florida, cocktail glasses with ocean backgrounds, excited group selfies with sunglasses and sun hats. By my calculation, they would be checking into their hotel about now, preparing for their last night on land before boarding the yacht tomorrow. I imagined their excitement, their anticipation of the luxurious week ahead. I also imagined their complete lack of concern about the woman they had left behind. The same woman whose credit card they had attempted to use for their $32,000 extravaganza. I left work at my usual time, picked up dinner on the way home, and settled in for what I knew would be an eventful evening. According to the itinerary, They had a group dinner reservation at an upscale seafood restaurant at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. my time in Chicago. The yacht company representative was scheduled to meet them there to finalize details for the morning boarding. At 7:32 p.m., my phone exploded with notifications. Not social media this time, but text messages, first individually, then in the family group chat that had been silent for days. Lauren, Heather, are you there? Something's wrong with the payment for the yacht. Jason, Heather, call me ASAP. My father, Heather, there seems to be an issue with your card. Please call immediately. I watched the messages accumulate without responding. Then came the group chat explosion. My father, the yacht company says all the payments have been disputed and frozen. They cannot release the yacht without payment cleared. My mother, there must be some mistake. Heather, please check your card. We need to sort this out tonight or we lose our reservation. Lauren. Heather, are you seeing these messages? I waited, letting their panic build. The yacht company would have informed them that the primary payment method had been reported as fraudulent. All charges had been disputed, and the booking was effectively canceled unless they could provide an alternative payment in full immediately. At 7:45 p.m., my phone rang. Lauren. I declined the call. Then Jason. Declined. My father. Declined. My mother. Declined. They called in rotation. Increasingly desperate as the yacht company representative presumably waited for their payment issue to be resolved. Finally, at 8:03 p.m., I responded to the group chat with a single message. Apologies for the confusion. I noticed some unauthorized charges on my card for services I did not request. I have reported them as fraudulent to my credit card company. Hope this does not inconvenience anyone. Enjoy your evening. The response was immediate and chaotic. Lauren, what did you do? You knew we were using the family wallet for this. My father. This is completely irresponsible. You have ruined everything. Jason, what the actual hell, Heather? My mother, please call the credit card company right now and tell them it was a mistake. I waited another 10 minutes before responding. I'm confused. I thought we had canceled the family vacation this year because money was tight. At least that's what you told me in March when you excluded me from the plans. The chat went silent for 3 full minutes. Then, Lauren, we can explain everything. Please just fix this now and we can talk later. I replied, I've corrected a billing error. Nothing to fix. My phone rang again, this time with a video call from my father. His face was red with fury, the restaurant visible in the background. I could see the yacht company representative sitting uncomfortably at their table, along with the rest of my family looking various combinations of angry, embarrassed, and panicked. What the hell do you think you're doing? My father demanded, not bothering with a greeting. Do you have any idea how much trouble you've caused? The yacht company won't hold our reservation without payment, and the card is locked. That's unfortunate, I replied calmly. Perhaps one of the other 11 people there could pay for the vacation? Or did you only invite people who couldn't afford it, expecting me to foot the bill without my knowledge? It wasn't like that, my mother interjected, leaning into the frame. We were going to pay you back. Really? When? And why lie to me about canceling the vacation in the first place? Why exclude me from a family tradition? You're always so busy with work, Lauren called from somewhere off camera. We thought you wouldn't want to come anyway. So you decided for me. Lied to me, then tried to charge $32,000 to my credit card without my permission. I kept my voice level, though my hands were shaking. That sounds less like consideration and more like fraud. My father's expression shifted from anger to desperation. Look, we can discuss all this later. Right now, we need you to call the credit card company and clear the charges. We'll sort everything else out when we get back. No, I said simply. I won't be doing that. What do you mean no? His voice rose again. You can't just leave us stranded here. Actually, I can. And I have. Goodbye, Dad. Enjoy your evening. I ended the call and turned off my phone completely. My heart was pounding, but underneath the adrenaline was a surprising sense of calm. For the first time in my relationship with my family, I had set a boundary and held firm against their manipulation. Whatever chaos was unfolding at that seafood restaurant in Key West was no longer my concern. Whatever scrambling they did to salvage their vacation was their problem to solve. I had protected myself financially and emotionally, and now I could begin the process of deciding what kind of relationship, if any, I wanted with the people who had so thoroughly betrayed my trust. Tomorrow would bring more confrontations, more explanations, more attempts to make me feel guilty or responsible. But tonight, I would sleep soundly, secure in the knowledge that I had stood up for myself when it mattered most. The pounding on my apartment door began at 9:17 a.m. the next day. I had been awake for hours, anticipating their arrival. After turning my phone back on, I had found 47 missed calls, 103 text messages, and a dozen voicemails, all variations on themes of anger, guilt-tripping, and demands that I fix the situation immediately. From what I could piece together from their messages, the family had spent a chaotic evening trying to salvage their vacation. The yacht company had been unwilling to release the vessel without full payment. My father had attempted to put the charges on his own credit card, but had insufficient credit available. They had tried pooling cash and other cards, but still came up short for the full amount. By midnight, they had been forced to cancel their dream yacht vacation entirely. The additional expenses they had already incurred, hotels and flights they had traveled on, were non-refundable. My entire family was now stranded in Key West, Florida, with no yacht, no vacation plan, and considerable sunk costs they could not recover. According to Lauren's particularly venomous text, they had rebooked red-eye flights and would be arriving back in Chicago by morning. I had slept surprisingly well despite knowing the storm that was coming. When the aggressive knocking started, I took my time walking to the door, pausing to straighten my shoulders and take a deep breath before opening it. They stood in the hallway like an invasion force, my parents in front, faces tight with fury, Lauren and Derek behind them, arms crossed, Ashley and Tom looking uncomfortable but present, Jason and Megan hovering at the back, as if unsure whether to fully commit to this confrontation. "You need to fix this right now," my father said without preamble, attempting to push past me into the apartment. I held my ground in the doorway. "Fix what exactly? The fact that you all lied to me for months? The fact that you tried to steal $32,000 from me? Or the fact that your luxury vacation fell apart when your theft was discovered?" "It wasn't theft," my mother protested. "We were going to pay you back." "Were you? How? When? Was there a payment plan I didn't know about? Because none of you have ever repaid the money I've loaned you in the past, so forgive me for being skeptical." This statement caused a ripple of discomfort through the group. Lauren looked away. Jason suddenly became very interested in his shoes, and my parents exchanged a quick glance. I stepped aside finally, allowing them to enter. "Since you've all come all this way, we might as well have this conversation properly. Everyone inside." They filed in silently, taking positions around my living room. I remained standing, unwilling to settle into the comfort of casual family discussion. This was not that kind of conversation. "Let me understand exactly what happened," I said, looking at each of them in turn. "You decided to plan a family vacation without me. You lied directly to my face about canceling our tradition. You created separate communication channels to organize behind my back. And then you attempted to charge the entire extravagant trip to my credit card without my knowledge or consent. Have I missed anything?" "You're making it sound so malicious," Lauren interjected. "It wasn't like that." "Then explain to me exactly what it was like, Lauren. Help me understand how this wasn't a deliberate deception and attempted financial exploitation." The explanations came in a chaotic overlap, each family member offering a different justification. "We knew you were too busy with work." My mother. "We thought you wouldn't enjoy that kind of trip." Ashley. "It was supposed to be a surprise for later." Jason. Unconvincingly. "We were going to invite you for the last few days." Lauren. "But it was my father's explanation that finally revealed the truth. After the others had exhausted their excuses, he cleared his throat and said, 'The truth is, Heather, we've come to depend on your financial support. You make more than the rest of us combined.' When we realized how expensive this trip would be, we knew the only way to make it happen was with your money. But we also knew you'd ask questions, you'd want receipts, you'd insist on everything being fair and documented like you always do. He had the decency to look ashamed as he continued. It was easier to just handle it ourselves. Use the card on file in the app. Figure out a way to pay you back eventually or explain it away as a family expense. So you decided to steal from me because I'm too financially responsible? The absurdity of it made me laugh. A sharp, humorless sound. And when exactly were you planning to tell me about this? After the fact? Never. My mother looked down at her hands. We thought once it was done. You wouldn't make a big deal about it. You never have before when we've needed money. And there it was. The truth laid bare. I had never made a big deal about financially supporting my family before, so they had graduated from asking for help to taking without permission, confident in my eventual forgiveness. This wasn't the first time, was it? I asked quietly, a new realization dawning. The shared wallet. You've used it before for things I didn't agree to. The uncomfortable silence was answer enough. How much? I demanded. How much have you taken without telling me over the years? My father shifted uncomfortably. It wasn't that much. Small things mostly. Weekend trips, gifts for each other that we said were from the whole family. The Aspen ski trip last winter, I said suddenly, pieces falling into place. When you all went for Jason's birthday and said it was paid for with points and miles. That was on my card too, wasn't it? Jason couldn't meet my eyes. Confirmation enough. And the family emergency fund we set up last year after Mom's boutique had that flood damage. I put in $5,000. Where did that money actually go? We needed it for other things. My mother said defensively. Bills, car repairs. Real necessities. Lauren's kitchen renovation isn't a necessity, I replied. Remembering photos she had shared of contractors working in her home around that time. Neither is Dad's golf club membership or Jason's gaming computer. The silence in the room was deafening. No one could deny what had become painfully clear. They had been systematically taking advantage of my financial generosity for years, escalating from asking for help to outright appropriation of my funds without consent. I've always been happy to help, I said, my voice catching despite my efforts to remain composed. All you ever had to do was ask. But instead, you lied to me. You excluded me. You made me feel like I wasn't even part of this family anymore. All while planning to use my money to fund your good time. We didn't mean to hurt you, my mother said, tears forming in her eyes. We love you, Heather. Love doesn't do this, I replied simply. Love doesn't lie and steal and exclude. Whatever this is, it isn't love. I walked to my desk and retrieved a folder containing bank statements, credit card bills, and a spreadsheet I had prepared through the sleepless early hours of the morning. I've documented every unauthorized charge I could find going back 3 years, I said, placing the folder on the coffee table. It totals just over $47,000, not including this latest attempt. I'm not asking for repayment, though I would be within my rights to do so. What I am doing is cutting financial ties with all of you, effective immediately. What does that mean exactly? Ashley asked, speaking up for the first time. It means I'm removing all of you from my accounts and payment apps. It means I will no longer be contributing to family expenses beyond my own costs when we interact. It means I will never again give or loan money to any of you for any reason. I looked at each of them in turn. It means I'm no longer your personal bank. The implications of this declaration settled over the room like a heavy blanket. For a family that had grown accustomed to my financial support, this represented a seismic shift in their economic reality. You can't be serious, my father finally said. This is an extreme overreaction to one mistake. It wasn't one mistake. I corrected him. It was years of escalating exploitation that culminated in an attempt to steal $32,000 from me while excluding me from my own family. And yes, I am entirely serious. I moved toward the door, signaling that our conversation was over. I think you should all leave now. I need time to decide what kind of relationship, if any, I want with people who would treat me this way. They left in stunned silence, filing out one by one. Only Lauren paused at the door, turning back with tears streaming down her face. We really messed up, didn't we? She whispered. Yes, I replied simply. You really did. As I closed the door behind them, I felt an unexpected sense of lightness. The confrontation had been painful but necessary. For the first time in my adult life, I had set clear boundaries with my family and stood firm in my own self-worth. Whatever came next would be on new terms, with my eyes wide open to the true nature of our relationship. 6 months passed before I saw my family together again. The holiday season approached, bringing with it the inevitable question of family gatherings and traditions. The half-year of distance had given me the space I needed to process the betrayal and decide how to move forward. In those months, I had immersed myself in therapy, working with Dr. Melissa Chin to understand the patterns that had led to my family's exploitation and my own complicity in allowing it. Week after week, I unpacked decades of family dynamics, identifying the subtle ways I had been conditioned to provide without question, to measure my worth by my usefulness to others. Financial abuse doesn't always look like someone stealing your wallet, Dr. Chin had explained during one particularly illuminating session. Sometimes it's wrapped in family obligation and emotional manipulation. The fact that they felt entitled to your money without your knowledge indicates a fundamental lack of respect for your boundaries. Those words had resonated deeply, helping me recognize that what had happened wasn't just about the money. It was about respect, honesty, and the basic expectations we have of those who claim to love us. My financial boundaries remained firm. I had closed all shared accounts, removed my cards from family payment apps, and established a clear policy of paying only for myself at any family gatherings. The change had been dramatic and immediate. Suddenly, restaurant checks were split evenly. Birthday gifts became modest and thoughtful rather than extravagant. Weekend activities centered around free or low-cost options rather than expensive outings. The family members had responded to these changes differently. My father had been the most resistant, alternating between anger at what he called my selfishness and awkward attempts to re-establish the old patterns. I found this investment opportunity, he would begin, only to trail off when he saw my expression. Eventually, he had stopped asking. My mother had taken a different approach, leaning heavily on guilt and nostalgia. "Remember how we always supported you," she would say, conveniently forgetting that the support had primarily flowed in the opposite direction for the past decade. These attempts too had faded as my boundaries held firm. Jason had been surprisingly quick to adjust, perhaps because his financial expectations had been established most recently. After an initial period of distance, he had reached out with a simple message: "I was wrong. I'm sorry." We had begun rebuilding our relationship on new terms, meeting for coffee or walks where the focus was conversation rather than consumption. Ashley and her husband Tom had maintained a polite distance, uncomfortable with the new financial reality, but unwilling to directly address the betrayal. Our interactions remained superficial, limited to group settings and holiday obligations. But it was Lauren who had made the most genuine effort toward reconciliation. 1 month after the confrontation, she had arrived at my door alone, without Derek or the others. "I've been thinking about what happened," she had said, her voice steady despite her obvious nervousness. "Really thinking about it, not just making excuses. And I'm ashamed of what we did to you." She had handed me an envelope containing a check for $7,500, her portion of the unauthorized expenses I had documented. "I can't speak for the others, but I can take responsibility for myself. This is the first payment. I'll send more each month until my part is repaid." That gesture had opened the door to healing between us. Over coffee dates and long walks, we had begun rebuilding trust. One honest conversation at a time. Lauren had been the first to acknowledge the unhealthy patterns that had developed in our family and the first to commit to changing them. As Thanksgiving approached, I had decided to break my isolation and accept Lauren's invitation to dinner at her home. The entire family would be there, she warned me. But she promised to respect my boundaries and support my new stance. "No one will ask you for money," she assured me. "And if they try, I'll shut it down immediately." The gathering had been predictably awkward at first. My father's attempts at jovial normalcy fell flat. My mother vacillated between overly solicitous and quietly resentful. Ashley and Tom maintained a careful politeness, while Jason made genuine efforts to engage me about my life and interests beyond my financial status. But as the evening progressed, something unexpected happened. Without the undercurrent of financial expectation, without the constant calculations of who was paying for what, different conversations emerged. We talked about books and politics, shared memories that had nothing to do with vacations or purchases, and even laughed together in moments that felt surprisingly authentic. After dinner, I stepped outside onto Lauren's porch, needing a moment alone to process the complex emotions of the evening. My father joined me, standing awkwardly at the railing. "I never properly apologized to you," he said after a long silence. I was embarrassed and angry, but mostly embarrassed. What we did was wrong, and I was the one who pushed for it the hardest. I studied his profile in the porch light, noting the new lines around his eyes, the slight stoop to his shoulders that hadn't been there before. "Why?" I asked simply. "Why lie to me? Why exclude me?" He sighed deeply. "Jealousy, if I'm being honest. You've accomplished so much, built such a successful life. Sometimes it's hard to be the father of a daughter who has surpassed him in every measurable way. So you punish me for my success by using me and excluding me? It sounds terrible when you put it like that," he admitted. "But yes, I suppose that's what we did." It wasn't conscious or malicious. It was small compromises that grew into something ugly. His honesty, however belated, was something I could respect. We stood in silence for a few more minutes before he spoke again. "I don't expect you to forgive us right away, or maybe ever. But I want you to know that I'm trying to change. We all are, in our own ways." Inside, I could see my family through the window, gathered in the living room. They were imperfect, deeply flawed people who had hurt me profoundly. And yet, they were still my family. The question was whether that fact alone was enough to rebuild upon. As winter turned to spring, I continued my own healing journey, including planning a solo vacation for myself. After years of organizing family trips and accommodating everyone else's preferences, I chose a destination solely for my own enjoyment. 2 weeks in New Zealand, hiking, exploring, and meeting new people who knew nothing of my family dynamics or financial status. It was on this trip that I met Elaine and Mark, a couple from Seattle who shared my passion for photography and outdoor adventures. We bonded quickly over long hikes and sunset photography sessions. And by the end of the trip, they had invited me to join their travel group for future expeditions. "We're planning a trek in Patagonia next year," Elaine told me as we exchanged contact information. "A small group, everyone pays their own way, no drama. You'd fit right in." The simplicity of this arrangement, the clear expectations and boundaries, felt refreshingly straightforward after years of complicated family financial entanglements. I accepted their invitation without hesitation. Upon returning home, I found myself approaching the ongoing family reconciliation process with renewed perspective. The distance and independence of my solo journey had strengthened my resolve to maintain my boundaries while remaining open to genuine change in our relationships. Lauren continued to make monthly payments, true to her word. Jason had started consulting me for career advice rather than financial assistance, a shift I found both appropriate and rewarding. My parents had begun marriage counseling, addressing long-standing issues that had contributed to their financial insecurity and manipulative behaviors. The family vacation tradition remained suspended, perhaps permanently. In its place, smaller, more manageable gatherings emerged: weekend brunches, afternoon walks in the park, movie nights where everyone bought their own ticket. These interactions, stripped of financial expectations, revealed which relationships had substance beyond transaction and which did not. Some connections grew stronger in this new reality. Others faded to a comfortable distance. And I found peace in the knowledge that I had not only protected my financial boundaries, but had also created space for more authentic relationships to potentially emerge. The betrayal had been painful, but the clarity it brought was invaluable. I learned that true family supports your growth rather than resenting it, celebrates your success rather than exploiting it, and respects your boundaries rather than testing them. Standing firm in that knowledge, I could now choose my relationships consciously. investing my time and trust in people who valued me for who I was, not what I could provide. That freedom, expensive though it had been to obtain, was perhaps the most worthwhile investment I had ever made. Have you ever had to establish difficult boundaries with people you love? How did you balance self-protection with forgiveness? Share your experiences in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to join our community of strong, boundary-respecting individuals. Thank you for witnessing my journey, and remember, sometimes the hardest decisions lead to the most necessary growth.